Nearly 2,000 targets hit, over 2,000 munitions deployed, warships sunk, missiles destroyed. The United States says this is the largest military buildup in the Middle East in a generation. But what does this really mean for Iran, for America, and for the entire world? Let's break down the facts. According to U.S. officials, a massive military campaign, codenamed Operation Epic Fury, has launched nearly 2,000 strikes across Iran in less than 100 hours. This coordinated assault by American and Israeli forces reportedly targeted a wide range of strategic assets, including air defense systems, ballistic missile sites, critical drone infrastructure, and key naval assets. The scale of this operation is staggering. Officials claim it rivals, and may even exceed, the intensity of the initial air campaign during the 2003 Iraq War. It's a level of concentrated military power we haven't seen deployed in the region for decades. So just how big is this operation? The numbers being reported are immense. We're talking about over 50,000 U.S. troops involved in the region. Around 200 fighter aircraft have been deployed, supported by 2 full aircraft carrier strike groups positioned strategically. These aren't just isolated strikes. This is a continuous, multi-domain operation happening across air, sea, and even the cyber domain. American officials are claiming significant successes. They say Iran's air defenses have been severely degraded, making it harder for Iran to protect its own airspace. Multiple missile launch systems, the very backbone of Iran's offensive capability, have allegedly been destroyed. There are also reports that several Iranian naval vessels, including a submarine, were effectively taken out of operation, crippling part of their maritime force. The picture being painted is one of overwhelming force designed to dismantle Iran's military capabilities from the inside out. But, as with any conflict, that is only one side of the story. How has Iran responded to this onslaught? In retaliation, Iran has reportedly launched hundreds of its own ballistic missiles, a clear signal that its offensive capabilities are far from neutralized. But beyond the immediate counterattack, analysts suggest a fundamental shift in Iran's military strategy is underway. Instead of relying on large, centralized command structures that make for easy targets, Iran appears to be moving towards what's being called a mosaic defense. This approach involves decentralizing command into smaller, more mobile, and agile units. Think of it like a swarm instead of a fortress. These smaller groups can disperse quickly, hide more effectively, and continue to operate even if other parts of the network are hit. This makes it incredibly difficult for an opposing force to land a single, decisive knockout blow. Instead of hitting a few big targets, you're now playing a game of whack-a-mole against hundreds of smaller, moving ones. This new strategy dramatically increases the complexity and, just as importantly, the financial cost of sustaining military operations against them. It's a classic asymmetric warfare tactic, designed to wear down a technologically superior adversary over time. This massive military action has, unsurprisingly, sent shockwaves through the international community. It's not just adversaries who are concerned, even traditional allies are raising red flags. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney publicly stated that the strikes appear to be inconsistent with international law, a very strong statement coming from a close partner. He also confirmed that Canada was not consulted before the operation began, highlighting a significant rift among Western allies. This isn't just about this one operation. It points to a growing tension over the very nature of preemptive military action and the adherence to established international legal frameworks like Article 51 of the UN Charter, which governs the right to self-defense. Even countries that have been highly critical of Iran's policies in the past are now publicly questioning the legality and, more importantly, the long-term strategic consequences of such a dramatic escalation. The fear is that this could set a dangerous precedent where international law is sidelined in favor of unilateral military force, potentially destabilizing the entire global order. This brings us to the core strategic question. What does striking 2,000 targets actually achieve in the grand scheme of things? Let's look at both sides. On one hand, the benefits for the U.S. and its allies seem clear. It weakens Iran's military infrastructure, making it harder for them to project power. It creates significant disruption within their leadership and operational command, sowing confusion and chaos. And, perhaps most importantly, it sends a powerful message of deterrence to both Iran and any other potential adversaries in the region. It's a clear demonstration of capability and a willingness to use it. However, there's a significant flip side to this coin. Sustained military operations of this magnitude are extremely expensive. The precision munitions, the missile defense systems, the fuel, the maintenance kit, all costs far more than many of the simpler, cheaper weapons being fired in response. An advanced interceptor missile can cost millions of dollars, while the drone or rocket it's shooting down might only cost a few thousand. This economic imbalance is a major factor in modern warfare. Furthermore, if Iran successfully pivots to a decentralized mosaic defense, the conflict could be prolonged indefinitely, turning into a costly and draining war of attrition. This raises the most critical question of all. Is Operation Epic Fury intended to be a short, sharp, overwhelming campaign to force a resolution? Or is this just the opening chapter of a prolonged and devastating regional war? Looking at the big picture, the potential long-term consequences are immense. If this conflict continues to escalate, the economic cost could surge from billions into the trillions of dollars, placing a massive strain on national economies. Regional stability, already fragile, could completely deteriorate, creating power vacuums and potentially spawning new extremist groups. Global oil markets and critical trade routes, like the Strait of Hormuz, could be severely impacted, sending energy prices soaring and disrupting supply chains worldwide. And then there's the geopolitical dimension. An extended conflict in the Middle East could draw in other major powers. Russia and China, who have their own strategic interests in the region, could become more deeply involved, further complicating the situation and raising the stakes to a global level. The biggest risk, the one that keeps strategists up at night, is that the conflict escalates beyond any hope of containment, spiraling into a direct confrontation between major world powers. Operation Epic Fury undoubtedly marks one of the most intense and significant military engagements in the Middle East in recent years. But history has taught us a stark lesson. Large-scale military strikes and shock and awe campaigns don't always lead to the quick, decisive endings their planners hope for. The next few days and weeks will be absolutely critical. They will determine whether this becomes a limited, albeit powerful, show of force that reestablishes deterrence, or if it's the opening salvo of a defining conflict for this decade. So what do you think? Is this a strategic necessity to ensure regional security, or is it a dangerous escalation that risks a much wider war? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you want to stay informed with deep, fact-based breakdowns of global security and geopolitics, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching.